Welcome to a new edition of Gerety Talks, the award that brings together some of the greatest creative leaders each year to look at work from a powerful perspective. This new series dedicated to indie agency founders is in partnership with Indie Agency News, who are building the global home for independent agencies. The mission: serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. The goal: more visibility for indies, more choice for marketers. Today we have some of those great, brilliant minds here. We welcome Zubeida Gulam, General Manager at Abrio in Botswana,
Hi.
Svetlana Kopic, Founder and Creative Director at No Agency in Serbia, and El Bulen, Partner and Executive Creative Director at Helions in Australia. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. Let us start with a little intro. Please tell us about your role and your agency. El, would you like to start?
Sure. Thanks for having us. So my name is Elle, obviously, and I am a creative and a creative director by trade, and I work for an agency that I co-founded called Helions. Helions is very fresh. We only founded the agency a few months ago, so it's a great time for us all to chat so I can pick your brains about how your agencies are going. I have done this before. I spent 4 years at a previous agency that I'd founded, and I've worked for a number of indies as well. So it's something I'm very passionate about.
Svetlana, would you like to go on?
Sure. So you know my name. So No Agency is it's not a typical agency. That's why its name is No Agency, because it's founded more like a network of the most awarded creatives from the Southeastern Europe that I had a chance to work previously during my over now 24 years in this business. So it's crazy to think about it. So it's basically like a network, and we gather around projects. So a client actually gets a totally personalized super agency consisting of the best creatives from the whole region that no regular agency can ever match. Actually, that's the basic idea.
Zubeida?
Fantastic. It's so interesting to hear all of your stories, and I can pick little bits of my experience based on what you guys are saying. So I am currently the general manager at Avrio Agency, which is an independent, I want to say, digital evolving into a content hub agency. I previously co-founded an agency called Valiant. It was also a digital agency out of South Africa. And we ran that for about 7 years until 2022, I think it was. So running and founding an agency is probably the bravest thing I think anyone can do. And I think you all agree on this on this call that you're constantly being faced with so many challenges. And I think it's even worse if it's an independent agency. So that's what I do. That's what I do at Avrio, and I'm having fun every day.
Awesome.
So my first question is, what inspired you to start an independent advertising agency? So tell us about that moment where you first thought about it. Svetlana, I think yours is the oldest one, so let's start by you.
I have to say it started, I mean, I'm going to be totally honest. It started from a frustration. Like I was very frustrated with corporate model agencies that they were turning more and more into. And, you know, when I started working in advertising, I had a little glimpse of what was before, of the time when agencies were really exciting, creative places where everybody wanted to belong to, and that were like a magnet for interesting people. And then I was a witness how it all changed totally in the past, I think, 2 decades. And I was very frustrated with many things. There is a long list of what I didn't like. And I realized I love this job. I hated the way it was done. I realized I will never find a perfect agency for me, and that I might as well try to create the one according to what I imagined what would be the best way to do it, the most satisfactory for me and for my fellow creatives at least, and for the clients as it turned out as well. So yeah, that's the story in short.
Zubeida, what about you?
So I think everything starts with frustration, right? When
Yeah.
it really does. It was the same for me. I was like, I can't, I want to have the independence of thought and of creativity and being able to just run the agency how we see fit without it being a cookie cutter kind of space, right? I think my moment of clarity came when I realized that also independence isn't about size. It's about the intent that you have, and what it is that you're trying to achieve. So then came Valiant, and I think after Valiant, Avrio has been the opportunity for me to continue that intent of just creating stories and content that is relevant to the region that we're in, and being the voice of creativity in our continent.
Elle, yours is very recent. What
Yes.
about you?
Well, I mean, I'm nodding my head listening to all this. We're all going, I think we can do this better, actually. And it's true. But the first time I did this, which was, oh gosh, 8 years or so ago now, the first time I had the thought that I wanted to do this, I was in a network and I looked around and I was like, where is everybody who's over 50? Especially the women. And I got really nervous.
Yes.
At the time, I was in my early 30s, and I went, what does my future hold in this industry if I don't carve it out for myself? So it felt like it was born out of necessity at that point, because I didn't trust the industry to continue to give me the loyalty that I was giving it. And then I'm here at the beginning of this journey again for very similar reasons to both of you, and that is going, actually, I see different ways of doing this. I have values that I want to be imbued in what I'm doing. And I think it's very easy in bigger networks to perhaps get caught up with creating value for the business rather than creating value for your partners. And that was a big reason that I wanted to shift.
Hmm. So you mentioned frustration and some other things. What were your biggest fears and obstacles, and what were the reasons why you were absolutely sure that you wanted to do it?
Biggest fears? Oh, financial ruin, not getting one. Let
Hello.
this go on.
Of course.
I mean, I'll jump in here and say that I've had the benefit of many sides. I've worked at independencies that I haven't founded. I've worked at networks. I've worked at my own agency. So I've had the benefit of trialing them all. And so I knew I wanted to do it again because I knew I wanted to do it my way.
Svetlana, what about you? What were your biggest fears, obstacles, and the reasons why you wanted to do it for sure?
I must say, I don't think it's like I'm so brave, I didn't have fear, but I was so, like, I had this vision, this idea that was so clear, I didn't even question it. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going there. So I didn't have fear, but I have a lot of obstacles, and I still have them. First of all, I'm a creative, and I'm not business savvy by no means. As you can see, I can easily mix dates or something. So yeah, it's a lot of education, a lot of work, and yeah, constant learning. That's my biggest obstacle. But also, I must say, it's the biggest obstacle, but it's also the biggest privilege because you're constantly learning. And I think, like, when you start a business of any kind, that's the biggest, like, personal development you can have in this world at all, because you're just forced, like, to do a lot of new skills, to learn a lot of new skills and do things that are not maybe your second nature, that are not so comfortable. So you know that's my biggest challenge. I wouldn't even say obstacle. It's like something I'm constantly working on.
And I have a question for you, Svetlana, because it sounds like the structure of your agency is like very different to the traditional model that perhaps your career before that and our careers have prepped us for. So has that been an obstacle as well? Because it sounds like you're kind of carving out your own space and having to build something genuinely from scratch.
Yep, that's Al, that's totally true. But the model, business model, is actually something that makes it easier for me because we have very low overhead. We are totally fluid. It was before pandemic. We were totally online from the beginning, and we meet in person. But you know, we don't have this huge office. We wanted to keep the overhead low so that creatives who are actually producing the work get the biggest part of every cake. That was like, it's a totally reverse triangle from the traditional agency. Like, you know, basically in traditional agency, you have a lot of people doing the work and they're at the bottom. And then you have like this, I don't know, business people at the top. And this is reverse. Like creatives are the ones that are doing the work and they're getting the best part of everything. So yeah, but as you said, like when you start something totally new, it takes a lot of energy to explain how is it different. Why would you go with something totally different? But you know, it's I enjoy most working with clients that are brave and not very traditional. So it's actually a great fit. We just don't attract the clients that maybe are not the right fit for us. So it's not a huge problem, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Zubeida, what about you?
It's a very interesting agency you have there, Svetlana. I like it.
Thank you.
So I think my answer is fairly short because I think the fear of anything drives you to the certainty that you're going to do what you need to do, right? So whether it's financial instability, whether this thing is going to work or not, you overcome those fears, and for certain, whatever it is that you're trying to do will become a reality. And I think having started Valiant and not knowing where we're going to get income from, if we're going to keep our clients for long enough, then COVID happened, and all of these things kind of happen around you, and you know for certain that you've got to keep trying. You've got to keep the lights on. You've got people that are looking up to you for their salaries at the end of the day. You've got livelihoods that you're responsible for. So I think the experience at Valiant certainly taught me that it's about doing purposeful work and doing it without the fear. The fear is there for sure, but you got to just get on with it. You really do. And I think we'll continue to do that with Avrio. And maybe I'll start another agency in the next 5 years if I'm brave enough. But I think we as a collective sitting on this call, we know that we have no choice than to just charge on and continue with what we're doing.
And you all had, as you mentioned, previous jobs in other agencies for a long time. How do you think those roles prepared you for your role today? What did you learn throughout your career that prepared you to take this step?
Who wants to go first? So I'll start. I think over the years, I've had to really deal with imposter syndrome, even leading up to this call. I'm not particularly the founder of Avrio, so I was asking myself if I should just, tap out of this call. But then I know that I founded an agency before, and you got to continue to tell yourself that you're actually worthy, you can. But then I think also leading up to co-founding Valiant, which was, I call my training ground, scaling the agency from a one-man, two-man shop to like a 10, 15 employee agency taught me resilience. It taught me responsibility. I know Svetlana was like, she's not into numbers. I was lucky that I had a partner that, he focused on and the numbers are the heartbeat of the agency, right? If you don't get the numbers right, you are dead in the water. So it was about, understanding how to scale and how to scale safely as well, because there's one thing to scale and then you're needing to kind of scale back down because you don't have the client base anymore. And then also, I think most importantly, I learned that leadership isn't about having all the answers. We don't have all the answers. I still don't have all the answers. It's about really fostering a culture where teams are empowered to innovate and, be what's the word? Confident enough, or having a team that's confident enough to help innovate and help grow the business. So that's what I've learned up to now. I hope that was not too much of a mouthful.
Very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Should I
Um,
go
I'll-
on?
Um, so what
Oh.
did I learn? I learned that it it really helps to be able to maintain a relationship. I think that in the creative department before I had my own business, Brice would just be served to me on a little platter and I would do my bit. And so I was only one cog in a bigger machine, but I learned in a network that if I wanted to get more briefs or get them made, that I had to sort of step out and build relationships with people and almost jump out of my own little creative box a bit. And that's something that has helped, I think, set me up in the independent agency world, because you have to wear so many hats. I think as creatives, and Svetlana, I'd be interested on your perspective on this. We are problem solvers by nature. We're doing this because we want to help people solve problems. And that is another really useful skill when you're running a business. And I am also financially wanting. I am not a number challenged. Yes, I'm not a numbers person at all, but I am able to take on account roles and manage client relationships and be strategic when I need to be, which has really helped me. So solving problems in different ways and making that a priority has been really valuable.
I totally agree with you, Al. Like, we are natural problem solvers. So, and we also find different ways to do things. So in a way that kind of prepares you for everything that's coming along, even if it's not from your preferred area of expertise. So I think the most important thing I learned, I had this privilege, like I was twice before in the situation to actually be in an agency when it was at the very beginning, and to actually work on building the profile of the agency from like 0 clients to being the most awarded agency in the region, for example. So I did it twice already, and not by myself, of course, but my contribution was significant. And I was just fed up of doing it for other people, and I somehow saw how it works. So this is, I think, the most important thing I learned, this experience. Actually, I'm not even doing the same things with my own thing, but like this experience, like going from very small to growing. It's not that I want an agency to grow and be big, but like just how to get to the client, how to do an outreach. Most of the times it was my like creative ideas that contributed to getting the recognition to the agency. So that's that, I think. And obviously, also I had the regional position, so I was constantly like overseeing teams that were in other countries, and I just from one hand like had an total overlook of who are the best people for what in what country, and also had this experience like it works. Like, you don't have to be physically there, you can just create these networks of people and bring them all together around the same vision and around the same project. And that was the perfect preparation for what I'm doing now.
That makes sense.
And So, Veda, you mentioned in the beginning about the challenges. So, what do you think today are the biggest challenges for independent agencies? And more globally, what are the biggest challenges that the advertising industry in general is facing?
So I think for independence, it's competing with global networks that obviously have the deeper pockets, and also retaining talent. So talent for me has always been the biggest challenge. Finding and retaining, because everybody wants to go to the global networks and they want to get the awards, they want to do all the things, and taking the risk to come and join smaller agencies is always it's a task, so I think getting that right is always going to be a challenge for us as independents. And then for the industry, it's really, I think, balancing data-driven demands with true storytelling, right? On the one side, clients want their return on investment, but the people that we're speaking to want just humanity. They want the magic of what it is to be a human, and I think finding that sweet spot is really where the magic lies, for the industry as a whole.
Svetlana, what do you think about the challenges?
I think Zubida just, I could totally agree. What you said, like about the challenge of advertising, I think you're spot on. So I will not repeat. That's perfect. I would just add, I think for independent owners, I'm now speaking for myself. I don't know. Maybe you will recognize yourself in this. It's a little bit lonely. Like there is no like support that you can reach out to. There is no base of knowledge and experiences that you can, take out. Like this is extremely beautiful for me to have an opportunity. And thank you, Lucia, for this, to actually talk to other founders. No, let's not even say female founders. That's so precious. I think we don't have enough network of support or exchange of knowledge and experience. And this is something I would love to somehow create in the future, because it's really precious. Every time I speak with somebody who has an agency, I learn so much. It's incredible. Like 5-minute conversation, like can open a lot of doors to me, like in my head. So yeah, that's for me personally, that's maybe the biggest challenge.
It's nice to learn it and not have to live it as well. Like it's really valuable to hear all this and take it on. Okay. They've lived that. And so maybe I can learn from it and, adjust. It's super helpful. It's my turn, isn't it? Okay, well, challenges, I think, particularly I think universal challenges are budgets. I think it's, the expectations of what you can create with how much you get to do it is, really challenging. And this might be unique to our market, but in Australia, there is an incredible amount of startups. There has been a real shift from these, big networks to lots and lots of little startups. And I think it's wonderful in a lot of ways. And there's a real camaraderie. Actually, one thing I've noticed since starting Hellions is that there's been a lot of support locally from other founders, which has been really good. Not that many females. There sadly should be more of them. But getting lost in that sea of startups is a risk, I think, for especially startup independence. I think that at the moment, it's easy, I think, to turn to a network because their names are out there, people are familiar with them, and they understand what they're getting because we've had decades of experience. But indies are focusing on niche areas, they're partnering up in different ways, some are in-housing as much as they're working with brands. And so I think as a marketer, if I put myself in our partners' shoes, it's overwhelming to know where to turn and who to turn to. And I think that that's something that we could all benefit from being addressed.
And now talking about leadership, I'm going to quote Ellen on this one. You said in an interview, we also see it as our responsibility to find extraordinary in the team that we build around us. If someone comes on board, it's our job to get extraordinary out of them. How do you manage to get the extraordinary out of them? And how do you encourage the people that work with you to give out the creative best? Since I
just try
quoted
not,
you, you can
try
start.
not to try not to be a jerk, really, I think is the short answer. I think the culture that you create is really important in an agency because you're asking people to be creative. If you're not comfortable, you can't be creative. If you don't feel supported, you can't be
Yep.
creative. And I have seen this industry behave really badly. And I am building an agency because I don't want that to continue. It's really important to me that we treat our people right, because I think unless you treat people right, you're not going to get beautiful creative. You're not going to get loyalty and retention. And especially as an independent, like you say, Zubeda, it's, talent is hard. But at the end of the day, we're just people. And, post-COVID, especially coming back into the office, and being surrounded by creative people was so special. I took a couple of years off. I got sick and I thought about maybe not rejoining the industry. And my first day back in a creative department, I was like, God, I missed you lunatics. You're just so much fun. And creating a culture where that can thrive, whether it is in person or online, I think is so important. And that's probably the best part of our jobs, is getting to, be creative and imaginative with other people for a living. What a treat.
I love what you're saying there. I really do, because I think in all agencies that I've been in, you can always tell what the culture, what kind of work's going to come out based on the culture that the agency has, right? And I think those are one of the main reasons we started our agency, because we'd been battered from the past, and we're like, you know what? When we start this agency, we want it to be about, coming into a space where you feel safe to talk about your ideas, where you feel safe to ask questions when you're confused about something, and not feel like an idiot for asking the questions, So we kind of created that space at Valiant, and I think I continue to do that at every, saying to the guys, you are the heartbeat of the agency, and you need to feel safe enough to be able to ask all of these questions. And I think we all curious as human beings, right? And it's the curiosity that creates the creativity, where you're like, why are we doing this way? Can't we do it this way? What if we did this way? And that's where the magic lies. So I think culture is the be all and end all, and will be the make or break of any agency that's especially creative.
It's so great to hear you saying that. And, I think we're all nodding our heads going, yeah, in the same reason that we wanted to do this because we were frustrated, we're trying to do it differently. And wouldn't it be nice in 10 years' time if you're talking to 3 female founders who'd done it not in reaction to how the industry had behaved, but just because they genuinely felt like there was room and it was an option for them. That would be really nice.
I hope for that. I really hope for that. Maybe we can come back to this and say, see, we said it, and here it is,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
can say what I agree with everything that said, like culture, treat people right, happy creatives make better ideas. That's like, better for everybody to have a beautiful culture where everybody's, feels heard and seen. And it's also like, for me, it's also very important to how you like picking the right project for the right person, like matching the right project to the right person. It's also extremely important because everybody has like their special strength, and they thrive on this kind of projects. So it's also, but it depends. It demands that the people, the team, and you can just feel who is the right fit. So yeah, that's also part of it that I can add.
So, and the last question to wrap up, what are your wishes for your agency this year and what would you like to achieve? Who wants to go first?
I'll go last.
Lana, why don't you go first?
Okay. I don't have an answer, but every year I have the same wish, like to create at least, I always say at least 5 projects that I'm so proud of and that are cultural relevant. I can't say it, and that actually, we always want to make ideas that have a positive impact on society, maybe not the whole society, but at least a little segment of society. This is something that, keeps me excited about this job. And every year I have the same wish. It is not like some getting a huge client with that. This is what I want for my agency this year again.
It's interesting because every time people ask me this, I think the answer that a lot of people have expected is, what do I want in terms of growth? How many staff will we have? What clients will we have? And it's really, that's not that's not really how I'm thinking about success for us. So actually, when you asked me what my wishes were, the first thing I wrote down when I was reading through these questions was to exist. If we're still here in a year, then I thought I should maybe raise the bar of my expectations. And I actually wrote down to be proud as well, Svetlana. And I just said, like, I just want to walk away at the end of the year and be proud of the type of work we're making and what we've achieved in 12 months. And I think, for me, I think it's really important taking it step by step. I don't have any, ambition to sort of grow to a certain size. It's really about the experience and making sure that it's still the joy that I founded it with my partners to try and chase, that we still have that, and that we go to work every day, love it, and are making things with wonderful people that we can be proud of.
That's so well said, guys. I looked at this question and I had so many wishes. I'm like, how do I distill it to just 2, right? And I think as leaders of agencies, we have the responsibility to create work that impacts the world around us in a positive way, right? We're not just, I'm certainly not just about, selling airtime or products. It's about, changing a mindset, getting people to understand the world that they live in a little bit better. And we provide those platforms by creating work that changes perspectives. Just this week, I managed to, so I work with a bunch of teams from the Southern African, I want to say, region. So our Zambian team is busy filming a documentary about democracy. I mean, the Southern African region has very young democracies. And if you know Africa, our democracies are still very young. And so they're filming this to just talk about the SADC region. So the SADC region is the Southern African Democratic Community, basically. So I got to interview the former president of this country. I'm not from Botswana, by the way. I'm from South Africa. And a day in the life of having to tell a story like that and continue to tell the story about, how we're growing as a democracy. And not just that, tell stories that have impact and where people are going, oh gosh, wow, I didn't know that it takes 3 regime changes to be a fully fledged democracy. I didn't know that. And given the history of South Africa, I wouldn't know that because we are 30 years into our freedom. So I think as agency leaders and people who create work, we have the opportunity to really just do that. And my hope for Avrio is to be able to tell the story of not just Botswana and its people, but our African continent and what it is that we're doing as just people living here and, enjoying the sun or just, talking about really impactful things. So that's very important for me. And I hope that we could do that with more gusto.
That's so
So
awesome.
beautiful.
I'd love to see that documentary when you're finished. How
Yeah.
incredible.
I'm going to send a link to you guys on this once it's done.
Thank you.
That's
Amazing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for such a great and insightful talk about your experiences and your challenges. And the best of luck for this year and all the projects you carry on with your agencies.
Thank you so much.
It was good
Thank
to meet
you.
you.
You too. See you
Cheers.
Thank you
later.
so much.
Bye.
Bye.